What's up, guys? Welcome back to JB Reviews. Now, I have to talk to you guys about something really quickly. We're planning a long trip, and I wanted to go ahead and get some new tires because my axles on my trailer I think are bent, because I had someone come over and repack my bearings, all that good stuff, and he showed me that a couple of my tires were wearing significantly faster, and he believes that my axles are bent. Now, if you don't know, I do have the torsion axles on this trailer, so Dexter axles, which are really good axles. I'm not sure why, but I may see if I can get them repaired, or I might have to just get all new axles. So unfortunately, you know, I don't know if I want to spend any more money on this trailer, but I decided to go ahead and get all new Goodyear Endurance tires. You guys know Goodyear Endurance have the best tires. So I went through Les Schwab. I called them before I got there. I said, hey guys, can you order me some Goodyear Endurance tires, because they didn't have them in stock. So the guy I talked to on the phone, I don't know if he just forgot or just didn't do it. So when I got there the next week for my appointment, they put on 3 of these tires. These are the Advanta tires, and they're the EcoSafe, and they're pretty much your typical ST225 7515. Shows here it has 2,830 pounds per tire at 80 psi max, so that's a good number. And what else? I thought that they showed the ply on here, but I don't see that. But LRE 117, 112, and speed rated, so you can go up to 87 mile an hour with these tires. I'm pretty sure they're either a 10 ply or 8 ply tire, one of the two, but I don't see that it's here. Now, let's discuss really quickly why I didn't get my Goodyear Endurance tires. When I picked up my trailer, I was under the impression I was getting Goodyear Endurance tires because I was replacing the 2 that were worn, and then one of the tires had a bubble on the sidewall, so I just wanted replacing 3 because one of the tires was really good. So regardless of that, when I got home, I never checked. So I had 3 of these Advanta tires and one of my Goodyear Endurance tires. So I always, before a trip, I always top off my tires. I try to keep them at a certain tire pressure, obviously, before my trip, because the temperatures fluctuate during this time of the year. And lo and behold, I looked down, I was like, these aren't Goodyear Endurance tires. And so I called back Les Schwab and says, hey, you guys sold me a different tire from what I discussed with the guy. So when I looked at my paperwork and everything, sure enough, it did say Advanta, but I never looked because I never discussed these tires. I never said I wanted Advanta tires. I specifically called into the dealership asking for Goodyear Endurance tires. And so it just seems as though some of these companies are just, you know, you probably have a lot of people come in that don't know what they want and don't really care. They just want a good, cheap tire, and that's what you put on. But if someone calls in to your shop and they specifically ask for a tire, whether you carry the tire or not, you should still give that person what they want, even if it is significantly more. I would have paid $60 to even $100 more for Endurance tires over these Advanta tires. So I talked to the manager, and I mean, I will admit, I was in the wrong too, because I never looked. I never looked at my paperwork. I never rechecked to see if we were actually getting Goodyear Endurance tires. So I took responsibility. Says, hey man, like, I'll be honest with you, I did not look at my paperwork. I just assumed when I called in that I was going to get what I asked for, which was Goodyear Endurance tires. So I told the guy, I said, can you guys, you know, take these tires off and then put on the, you know, Goodyear Endurance. So he told me, he says, listen, I understand you want the Goodyear Endurance tires. He says, however, we all at the shop run the Advanta tires. He said, they're just because they're a little bit cheaper tire doesn't mean that they're bad tires. He said, these are not the China bombs that you've heard about in the past. And I said to him, I said, listen, I hear what you're saying, but I said, I'm about to go on a 7,000 mile round trip. I don't want to use a tire I've never heard of. But if you're telling me that these are great tires, I'll take you at your word. However, if I have any issues with these tires, I want my Goodyear Endurance bags. If I have any, obviously blowouts, things like that, 100%, I want you guys to take these tires back and get me what I want. Now, I did a quick search online. You guys see here, it does say 10 ply. They do have an F-rated tire for this too, for 16-inch wheels. And here's the cost per tire. I did wind up replacing the last Goodyear Endurance tire with one of these. But you guys see down here, it does say these are made or owned by an American company, not made in America. Also, they have some of the specifications. They don't really show you a ton, but it shows you the load index here and a few other things down below. A lot of things are not really showing up here, which kind of concerns me. Also, they do have a more commercial grade tire. Now, they don't show you the tire pressure, but I'm pretty sure these are either 110 or 125 psi. Now, you have to keep in mind, if you do go with a tire like this, you may have to change your wheels because the wheels have to be rated for the max psi of the tire. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your research. Now, these tires are made in Vietnam, so that doesn't necessarily mean they're not China bombs still. They could still clearly be tires that have issues. Now, the only thing I'll tell you is this. The reason why I highly recommend you always go with your gut is because anytime you have a blowout, let me show you what happens. I have the tire pressure monitoring system for my trailers simply because I always want to catch it if it does happen. Do you see the bulge on the side of my trailer? Oh, right here. I forgot, it does show damage. So here's some of the damage that happened on my trailer right here. That is basically what happens when you have a blowout. So when you have China bombs, it damages your equipment. So just keep that in mind. Like, that's why I always recommend don't run cheap tires if you're on a budget. Even if it costs you $250 more total, it could cost you that to do repairs on your trailer. Now, granted, if you have insurance, your insurance could pay for that too, but you don't want to use your insurance for things like that. I could probably bend that out myself, and honestly, it doesn't really look that bad to me, so I don't really care. But that's kind of why I did this video. I just want to remind people, hey, if you are someone looking to, you know, buy tires, I would recommend going with what people always know. I do know that Rainier is another brand that a lot of people say are pretty good tires. I can't confirm that. Obviously the Goodyear tires, and in the comment section below, be sure to discuss some tires that you've gotten some good mileage out of. I want to hear from people who actually travel and tow far, because the more you get out of your tires, obviously, is based off of how you take care of them. Obviously, making sure you check your tire pressure, like especially at nighttime or when the sun goes down. That way you can top off the air or whatever. But maintaining the tire pressure is big. The other thing is obviously keeping the sun off your tires. See, we're, you know, not going to be here long today, but, you know, normally I would cover my tires if I was going to stay for, you know, a few days or something like that. But again, I hope this was helpful. I just want to do this video just to kind of let you guys know. I'm going to give my impressions on these tires. So far, these tires are pretty good. They maintain tire pressure really well based off of my tire pressure monitoring system. They don't get that hot, even though the temperatures have come down quite a bit. I have towed my trailer with weight on it, and 110, 115 is about what I've been seeing. So tire pressure, tire temp doesn't get too out of whack on these, so we'll see how they do. So again, be sure to follow the channel. I'll try to do some updates. I'm doing a 7,000 mile trip at some point this year, so hopefully I can let you guys know how they do.